It is Game 2 of a 3-game set between the Yankees and the White Sox. It's also Game 1 of a doubleheader. The weather is cloudy, but the mood is chipper as the Yankees look to continue their red-hot start. My recap, your reactions, coming up next. This is Yankees Game Night. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. If you're like me and you want to play fantasy sports, but you don't want to compete against bots and people who do this professionally, you just want to have fun and not have to deal with rosters and injuries all season, get the Prize Picks app. Do yourself a favor. You simply pick 2 to 5 players, regardless of their sport. Pick whether they're going to have a good day or an off day. And obviously, the more you pick correctly, the better you do. It's that simple. And their withdrawals are super fast. It is a must-have app for the NYY Recaps audience. Download the Prize Picks app or visit prizepicks.com or use the link in the description of this video and use the code NYY Recaps and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. It will help the channel immensely. Do me a favor, go to Prize Picks, use the code, and win some money. Yikes. I tell you what, guys, a lot of bad news today if you're a Yankees fan. Aside from the tough loss, which you see on the screen there, we also found out that both Joey Gallo and Kyle Higashioka have been placed on the COVID IL, so get well soon to those guys. Also, Chad Green is headed for Tommy John surgery. His season and, maybe his Yankees tenure is over. But it's not all bad news. Both Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez homered today. Dominguez is essentially hitting 300, 299 in May. Nationals are going to love those guys. I got to make this recap kind of quick because we've got Game 2 in probably less than half an hour. Jameson Taillon was on the mound today, very efficient in the first inning. Donaldson made a really nice play to get him out of the inning with just 7 pitches. That's always a good way to set the tone for the day, and he did have a pretty good day despite the Yankees losing this game. Top 3, the Yankees shift for Moncada, and he embarrasses them. He literally bunts for a double down the third baseline. That made it second and third with 2 outs, but Taillon picked up a big strikeout to get out of the jam. Top 4, Taillon runs into trouble, rather. Hard hit balls all over the place. White Sox jump out 1-0, but Taillon, again, got a couple of strikeouts to get out of the jam. He worked a scoreless 5th, 6th, and 7th innings as well. Final line for Jameson Taillon, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. His ERA on the season down to 2.95. Very solid outing for him. Bottom 7, Aaron Hicks and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa lead off the inning with back-to-back singles. That finally knocked Cueto out of the game. Cueto was terrific today. He was essentially pitching like a right-handed Nestor Cortez. But ultimately, the Yankees couldn't do anything with him. Aaron Hicks got picked off a second base to make the second out of that inning. That was horrible. That cannot happen. You cannot get picked off in scoring position in the 7th inning of a 1-0 game. I'm sorry. That's baseball 101. You got to have your head in the game. You got to know they're trying to pick you off in that situation. You're the tying run, and you're in scoring position with less than 2 outs. Of course they're going to be paying attention to you. Why is your head not on a swivel, man, and where are the coaches? The stadium was practically empty. You know that the runner can hear the coaches. Nobody's yelling that he's creeping? Come on. A couple of pitches later, there was a pass ball. That would have made it second and third with less than 2 outs, and that would have basically been a totally different ball game. Would have been a totally different feel in the stadium. Instead, Joe Kelly got out of it. Bottom 8, Yankees down 1-0. Aaron Judge down 0-2 in the count to Liam Hendricks. Absolutely nukes one into the second deck in left field. 15th of the year, 431 feet, 111 miles an hour off the bat. Tie game. Nice shot by Judge.
Pay that man his money.
Aaron Hicks came up with a chance to be the hero. Runners on the corners, 2 outs, and he had a terrible at-bat. Ends up popping out weakly to third base. Just an awful game for Aaron Hicks once again, despite picking up a couple of hits. Top 9, Aroldis Chapman comes in the game, and the feeling of dread came into our lives. Serves up a leadoff home run to instantly give the White Sox back their advantage. And he allowed another run on a double before getting pulled. 5th consecutive outing in which Aroldis Chapman has given up a run, and he is becoming a real problem. Yankees went down quietly in the 9th, and good thing that there is a second game because that game sucked. Pazzo says Hicks literally doesn't have his head in the game anymore. He's trash and needs to go. Look, yesterday there was the play in the outfield where he literally got hit by a fly ball in the foot. I'd never seen that happen, even in Little League. And then today getting picked off. Can't hit with runners in scoring position. You know, he started out this season looking pretty good, but he has regressed far and fast. All right, let's see. High Ball Production says, when does Boone move away from Chapman? I think that day was today, my friend. I think that was today. Because you can't rely on him. I mean, and my cat's trying to get into the picture here. Come on, Joba. Come on up. Stay out of the camera. So you can't rely on him. I mean, this is one of your high leverage relievers, and that's 5 consecutive outings in which he's given up a run. That can't happen either. Warren Francis, Hicks batting 6th was the reason we lost this game. I can't say that you're wrong. You know, he did have a couple of hits. He didn't have a totally bad day offensively. I think it was more the base running, you know? I mean, he hit 500 today. But, coming up in a key situation like that with runners on, I would rather see Isaiah Kiner-Falefa a little higher in the order because he's a contact guy. So he might pick up a lot of RBIs with base hits. He's a pesky hitter, too. I had no idea how pesky he was. He doesn't walk a lot, but he has tough at-bats. He fouls pitches off. He fouls off tough pitches. So I wouldn't mind seeing Isaiah Kiner-Falefa shift up a little bit in the order. X-Wing Class says, Cashman and Boone need to understand that Chapman is no longer that guy anymore, period. And I agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
At PXNA says, he always pops up in the worst moments. I hate it so much. There was a year in which Wade Boggs popped up once all year. Pop-ups are my least favorite thing to watch from an offensive hitter, or from the Department of Redundancy department, an offensive hitter, from an offensive player. I mean, the success rate on getting a hit on a pop-up is extremely low. I mean, you have to hit it in the right spot, and guys have to be shifted funny. It's just, it's going to be out, and it just takes a long time. It's just a frustrating at-bat to watch when someone pops out, and it's even worse when it's in a key situation. El Comandante Morila says, trade Chapman and Hicks. Who are you going to trade him for? I mean, maybe somebody would pick up Chapman, maybe, but the Yankees would have to eat all their salary. And, his velocity isn't what it was. It was 95 today. The trainer was out there, and they were essentially saying, hey, when are you going to throw the fastball? What's wrong? Are you hurt? And if he was and stayed in the game, that's just irresponsible. Pamela Davis, Great Takes Nightly, says, this was a 2021 type game.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Absolutely, hey.
Yeah, this was exactly how a lot of games were last year. But I do have some good news. The Yankees have not lost 2 in a row yet this season. So that pretty much means that we're going to win tonight. We're going to have to win it tonight. PJ says that missile off Chapman literally killed the hype of the crowd. Yeah, it was silent. You could have heard a pin drop about 10 seconds after that ball landed. It was just silence in the Bronx. You could hear the train. The crowd was completely done at that point. Took them right out of it. Let's see here. JC Pagan says, Clay Holmes just won the relievers role. Well, you got a lot of relievers, but I think you mean the closers role. And this wasn't a save situation. It's one of those situations where, it's a high leverage situation. But you're not going for the save there. And you can't use Clay Holmes every time. So, there are times when Chapman's going to have to pitch on this team. But he's just been absolutely terrible for the last, I don't even know how many, 5 straight appearances which he's been scored upon. But I feel like there were a couple of appearances before that in which he just wasn't good and didn't get scored on. Lori C says we need another reliever. Well, we did get to see Marinaccio in this game, and I believe that he's one of those guys that's on the way up. I also think that we might have some solutions to the bullpen in the minor leagues. I know that Ken Waldichuk is a starting pitcher, but if they for some reason want to limit his innings in the second half, and you haven't been pitching much over the last couple of years, you could see him come up and be in the bullpen, and he's a funky left-hander. By the way, you see Giancarlo Stanton making a great diving catch on a ball hit right at him. So, you might see somebody internally. I don't think there's a lot of relievers out there that the Yankees would trade for. I think if they're going to trade, they're going to try and get a center fielder or maybe even a left fielder, depending on if they decide to stick with Joey Gallo. I think they're going to stick with Joey Gallo. I think they know what Joey Gallo is. And they traded for him knowing he's going to strike out a lot. But, they entered the offseason, and Brian Cashman said that center field was going to be an issue in which you look to upgrade, and they just never got around to it because of the lockout. Gary Wanamaker says, well, the Rangers won today. Hey, what's the score in that series? What's that series knotted at? Is it 1-1? Is it 2-1? So I'm a North Carolina resident, so the Hurricanes are kind of big here. And that's a really fun stadium to go to. But I like the New York Rangers more than I like the Carolina Hurricanes, so I had to sit this one out. Too conflicted. But, I root for the Rangers, but I also like to attend Hurricanes games. It's a really nice park or, arena to go to. Armando Gomez says trade him for a bucket of sunflower seeds. Yikes. Screedimus MC says DFA Chapman. Not actually. I'm just angry. Hey, we're all angry. This is a tough day.
Oh, yes. I hate this. It is revolting.
Willie Robinson says, what happened to Ridings? That sounds like the chorus of a bluegrass song. What happened to Ridings? So he is rehabbing. He had a shoulder impingement, I believe, and he is rehabbing in Tampa, and I think he'll be back probably sometime this summer. X-Wing says, don't defend Cashman. Cashman did not address center field because he clearly wanted his boy Hicks to start at center this year. I don't think we can go into what's in anybody's head because he said publicly that he wanted to address center field, right? And we've seen that when Aaron Judge is in the lineup and Aaron Hicks is in the lineup, sometimes they would prefer to play Aaron Judge in center to Aaron Hicks. So that tells you that Aaron Hicks is the second best center fielder on this team. And obviously offensively, he's been a mess this year, even with the 2 hits today. He is at, well, let's just go to the box score. Let's take a look at how he's doing. As you can see, he is hitting .212 with a .591 OPS. That's actually second worst in the lineup today. Third worst, Trevino and Marwin Gonzalez. Both actually, I'm reading that wrong. Trevino and Gonzalez both worse than Aaron Hicks, but neither one of them is a regular player. Trevino getting more playing time. Judge 3 for 4 today. He's up to .319 on the season, 1.074 OPS. Rizzo 1 for 2. He had that big double, couple of walks. They noted that he's really becoming a leader on this team. I think that's good to see. Donaldson 0 for 4 after the controversy yesterday. So a few people have said I should comment on that, and I'm just going to kind of choose to take Donaldson at his word that, he didn't mean it the way that he meant it. I think it was a stupid thing to say, but I have a motto in my own life where if someone says something stupid that could be interpreted as malicious, I always choose never to assume malice when stupidity would suffice. And I think that what Donaldson said, he was razzing Anderson about calling himself Jackie. But in today's world, you just got to be really careful with what you say. And hopefully he learned a lesson from that. I don't even entirely think that we have free will. I mean, the scientists they debate whether or not we actually have free will. So I have a tough time really holding mistakes against people these days, because I think, well, what if they're not even really doing that on purpose? It's just kind of like, something that they were meant to experience. I don't know. Just one of those weird things. Samantha T says, I think there are some teams that could use Chapman, but do they have anything that we want? Honestly, if we have better options internally, then just the salary relief of moving Chapman would be good. So you could give Chapman away essentially for no player to be named later, but eat some of that money so that we can upgrade in another spot, because the Yankees are approaching that third threshold in the luxury tax. So anyway, tough afternoon for the Yankees. We do have another game this evening, and hopefully it goes a little bit better. We got Luis Severino on the mound. John Daniel Munoz says the Matrix is real. I do sometimes feel like, things just line up so perfectly. I listen to a lot of Alan Watts. He's like a philosopher guy. He's dead now, but, he says that nature doesn't make mistakes. I mean, you look at a pattern of rocks, or marble. I mean, is it ever not aesthetically pleasing? Nature's beautiful, and nature creates life, and life is kind of always in balance. You think about our gut biome. We have things that are fighting each other inside of our gut, essentially good versus evil bacteria. And, a plant will have a fungus on it, and it fights that fungus. And, that fungus is just having its entire lifespan. And I just think that things expand outwards like that. And I think that there's just a balance of things that happen. And sometimes people make mistakes, but I think it might even just kind of be built in that people are making mistakes. So, in case we do have free will, I would like him to make better choices, but if we don't, it is what it is. Warren Francis Chapman is a free agent after this year. Thank God. Finalage says, calling someone Jackie Robinson would be complimentary in my book. Absolutely. And that's what I mean. I mean, the White Sox kind of took it as like a really negative thing and applied the magic R word to it. And I don't know if you can see inside of somebody's soul like that and know what somebody's intentions are. I saw Donaldson's interview after the game, and I saw somebody who was resigned that he had made a mistake and an error in judgment in saying something, but also felt like, there wasn't something malicious behind it. He was trying to razz the guy, talk a little smack, because the guy called himself this particular moniker. And I have a tough time being mad at him. There are things he could have said that would have made me angry and would have made me change my opinion about him. I just think that he was not being malicious, and if he gets suspended, it's going to be an absolute joke. Anthony Segarra says Chapman looks fat. Ouch, ouch, ouch. All right, guys. With that, we are going to call it a day. I'll be back for the second game. Stay tuned. Game's getting started in just a few minutes. Louie on the hill.